Hi there, I'm Jason Renshaw. I currently work at GTEC, which is the Geelong Technical Education Centre, which is embedded within the Gordon or Gordon TAFE. Um, and I work there as an applied literacy teacher alongside a team of about a dozen other teachers. And we actually apply something called VCAL, which is the Victorian Certificate of Applied Learning. That's an alternative pathway for secondary students in Victoria, and we do that in conjunction with VET, Vocational and Education and Training, which is applied across other areas of Gordon TAFE. This is a PD workshop that I've put together called Facilitating a DPACT approach to teaching and learning. And this is the screencast version that I'm creating to support that workshop, but you could probably use it in its own right in this format. And I hope you find something here that you find useful, or something that makes you think a little bit differently about the way you go about your teaching. So we'll get into it. Okay, we're going to start with a quick warm-up, and I suggest you might like to get yourself a piece of paper or open up another browser with some sort of program that you can type in, or you could just think about this as you go and not write down anything. But if you do grab a bit of paper or something, I suggest that you just divide it into three small sections like that, because I've got a couple of questions that I'd like you to think about before we get into the workshop proper. And the first question I have for you is, what is the biggest challenge of effective teaching, in your opinion? What if you could sum it up in one word? What's the biggest challenge for you as a teacher, or when it comes to effective teaching? And you might like to pause the video at this point and just write down what you think would be the biggest challenge of effective teaching. Moving on, our next question is, I'm going to invite you to make a simple acronym for your teaching approach. Now, you notice that I've made an acronym for this workshop called DIPACT, D-I-P-A with CT in brackets, and that's a little acronym that I've made. And acronyms are kind of interesting in some ways. We tend to have too many of them in education, but they can be useful too, and they can be fun, because it's a good way of actually summing up your beliefs or your approach to something in a way that helps you remember it. And especially if the acronym is a novel one, and it has a sort of double meaning, like mine, DPACT, has that idea of deeper, as in teaching and learning that might be going a little bit deeper than other approaches perhaps. And I also like the resonance with the idea of impact, DPACT. So that's my attempt to make myself sound much more intelligent and witty than I am with that acronym. And what I'd like you to do is pause the video again and just write down on your paper a little acronym that could sum up your teaching approach, or what you believe makes effective teaching. Okay, hopefully you've done that. Hopefully you've created a nice little acronym for your teaching approach, or some sort of summarized version of it. My next question for you is, what do you think is going to happen in this workshop? You're looking at this workshop called Facilitating a DPACT approach to teaching and learning. I've given you a few background details about myself. Now I'd like you to actually write down on your bit of paper, well, what do you think I'm going to actually do? What am I going to cover? How am I going to cover it? And have a bit of a guess and make a few predictions about what you think is going to be covered in this workshop. So hopefully you can answer those three questions there. There's no right or wrong answers, obviously, for any of those questions, but I'll come back to them later on in the workshop. And what I would like you to think about is, why did I ask these questions, and why did I ask them now? Given that this is a workshop, given that this is a sort of tutorial, I guess, why did I ask you these questions? I want you to think about that as well. I'll finish up this segment now. This is the introduction and the warm-up. Hopefully you've got a few interesting things down there on the bit of paper, and I'd like you to sort of think back to them here or there as we work through the rest of the workshop. And I'll finish up here and go on to the next part of the workshop.